Hey guys, it's Chris. I've got another single video for you today. I'm going to talk about a jazz collection I bought last year and go through a box of random records that I've cleaned but haven't been really necessarily listened to yet or cataloged completely. Um, I know I've mentioned this collection before on our other videos, but I just want to talk about it a little bit because it was really a pretty neat experience. So I just randomly, where did I find this? It was on Reddit, I think. I've accidentally typed in the wrong subreddit name for some jazz vinyl subreddit, I guess, and found a different subreddit that was barely populated. And this lady had just posted an ad there that had a link to a Craigslist ad where she was selling her dad's uh, jazz vinyl collection, right? A bunch of records. So I immediately sent her a message, and we talked back and forth, and I drove out to Plano, which is about an hour from here, and ended up buying it. She had about 500 records, which, I would definitely recommend buying a collection like this if you get the opportunity, but it's a lot of work. So 500 records is a lot more than it. It's just a lot of weight. It's a lot to deal with. I got it before Christmas, and then I was on vacation for 3 weeks during the Christmas break, which was awesome because I just spent a lot of time going through them and cleaning them all with my, spin clean, and you can see kind of my wrong side, my sorry about the mess, but my cleaning setup back there that I need to put away. But so I went through them all, kind of made a first pass of stuff that looked cool to me, which there was maybe 50 to 75 out of the 500 that were like I was like super excited about at first. And I wouldn't say there wasn't anything in there that was really super valuable. Like some a couple of $40 records, maybe a $70 record in there, and then lots of $10 stuff, lots of $5 stuff, lots of $2 stuff, right? Um, but the cool thing about it was, after I went through those first 50, 75, whatever it was, I started going through the rest of them and cleaning them, and a lot of them were in rough shape. I ended up not keeping about, I would say I had 8 U-Haul boxes or something like that, and it ended up not keeping about 2 boxes full of stuff because it was either just really, really bad shape or just wasn't interested in it. There was just all kinds of stuff that I just wasn't interested in, right? So, um, started going through it all, and then I started, I made a first pass after the 75 and got a bunch of records that I cleaned and looked like they were in pretty decent shape, and um, that was cool and all that. And then I made a couple other passes, right? And I started changing a little bit through the way of what my quality standard was going to be. Because if I go to a used record shop, I don't usually buy anything unless it looks like VG plus, right? If it doesn't look really nice, maybe VG, right? I'm not buying anything that's beat up. But I ended up keeping a lot of stuff that was kind of beat up. I mean, all the ones I've listened to so far haven't had like skips on them, except for maybe one. And some of them are pretty noisy. Like they got audible ticks, which is like my pet peeve, where you hear the same tick every revolution of the record, right, through a whole song or whatever. And I'd say I probably ended up keeping 350 to 400 of them, and I'd say there's probably 50 of them that are, you know, a little tough to listen to quality wise. Um, but all those that I kept, I really liked the music on them, and I've put in Discogs. I've kind of categorized them in a way where it's like, okay, if you find a better copy of this for cheap, just pick it up and you can replace it, right? Like an upgrade copy. So, having said all that, the coolest part about this for me was that I was pretty new to jazz, right? I'd been collecting for 6 months or something. I came upon this awesome score, and I was super stoked about jazz. I still am, but it was cool because it got me into all kinds of stuff that I never would have known about. I mean, there's lots of big band stuff that I wasn't really interested in before that I just love now. Um, Real classic big band stuff from the 50s and 60s like Herbie Mann and kind of drawing a blank now, Maynard Ferguson, a bunch of his old stuff. A lot of newer stuff, it's not that great, but it really expanded my jazz vocabulary, I guess, and what I like. Um, there was only a few blue notes in there, which I already had 100 blue notes, right? There was a few impulses, and then a lot of it was like a lot of West Coast stuff, just a bunch of random stuff, some roulette some roulette records that I hadn't had any of. Just kind of all over the place. Lots of West Coast stuff, like stuff you would expect to find from a jazz fan that was collected, in the '60s and '70s mainly, like in Florida, because that's where he was at, right? This guy that her dad. When I got to talk to her about her dad a little bit, he'd passed away obviously, but it was cool to share that, and she told me some stories about certain records. It was really neat, and so beyond that, the other part that I thought was really cool is he was a collector, obviously. I mean, nobody just has 500. 500 records is a lot of records. Like, for some of us, it doesn't seem like that much because maybe we have 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000. Some people have lots of records, but for a normal just person that listens to music, 500 records is a ton of records. So it was cool because he was obviously a collector that had bought other collections. I can't remember what his name was, her father, but there were labels on a bunch of the records that were different people. And I actually, after I went through it all, I texted back and forth with her for a couple of months. I was like, "Hey, is this your dad's name?" She's like, "No, my dad's, whatever his name was." It's like, wow, we had a bunch of records from this one guy in Florida. She's like, "Yeah, he lived there," and kind of went through some of the history of the stuff, and it was really neat. So anyway, kind of rambling on like I always do, but I want to go through this box of random stuff. I've probably listened to some of it, and most of it I haven't. I've gotten down to probably 4 boxes, and the boxes I'm talking about, you can see them on my shelf back here. These Target boxes, they probably hold 50, 60 records. They're great. Highly recommend. They're like $20. They're super sturdy. So, I think Felipe and Mike have both bought a couple of them. I've got like 10 of them. So it's just kind of an overflow that I haven't gotten to yet and like really listened to and catalog, put into Discogs and put where they belong in my shelves and all that. So let's get to it. Let's go through these records. There's going to be some weird stuff. There's going to be hopefully some cool stuff. So let's get started. Yeah, this one's kind of funny. So this is a red eye. I got red eyes. 6i Columbia, and it's Dave Brubeck. It's the Dave Brubeck Quartet, and that's Dave Digs Disney. So I haven't listened to this, I don't think. I mean, I tested it out to see how it sounded, but I'm guessing, yeah, it's a bunch of Disney tunes. Alice in Wonderland, When You Wish Upon a Star, Someday My Prince Will Come. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because Miles did that, right? So that is super interesting. I wonder if Miles had covered that before this or not. Interesting. So yeah, nice old Columbia 6i, Dave Digs Disney. I think I looked this up the other day and it's like $1. So, like most Dave Brubeck records, not super expensive and all over the place, right? What do we got here? Okay, this is Della Reese and Gloria Lynn. I'm not sure who Gloria Lynn is. I've heard of Della Reese. Female jazz vocals. I got a bunch of this stuff, a bunch of female jazz and vocals, and I'm not really that into that, but it's another thing the collection kind of has taught me who some people are, and I actually like a lot of it. Like Carmen McRae, I had no clue who she was. Super big fan of hers now. Who else? Dinah Washington is another one. I got a bunch of records of hers that are really cool. And so, but this one, it's funny. So this is on. What is this? Design Spotlight Series. Yeah. So I've got 3 or 4 of these. Design was a sub-label of Pickwick Industries, I think, or International, whatever it was. Pickwick. And if you're familiar with Pickwick, you know that most of the records don't sound very good because they were like grocery store records, right? You pick them up at the Walgreens or the grocery store, and it's like cheap collections, right? And this is one of those. So now I'm super interested to hear this one still. It's funny because a lot of those labels would get fancy with their labels, like this is a gold label, right? But guaranteed this probably doesn't sound that great. I've got 2 or 3 other ones, and I think I've got a couple other ones in the Spotlight series, which are just, they're spotlighting a specific artist, in this case 2 artists, right? But I'm guessing it's like old 78 stuff for some of the artists, or just whatever they could license super cheap, right? Trying to think, let me look here. So you see the back's kind of cool. It's got all the different Spotlight series they did. I don't remember which one I have. I think I've got, let me see, real quick. Nah, I don't know. It doesn't. The one I have is not on here, but Del Reese and Gloria Land is this one. So anyway, it's a lot of time to spend on this record that is probably going to sound terrible. All right. All right, here's one that definitely, a group that I definitely didn't know much about and wasn't a huge fan of before this. Ramsey Lewis, right? This is just Ramsey. This is not the Ramsey Lewis Trio, it's just Ramsey Lewis, I guess. Tequila Mockingbird. So I am not familiar with this album at all. I haven't listened to it yet. It's not a trio. I mean, it may be a trio, but it's not his traditional trio. This is on Columbia. Looks like 70s Columbia, right? Um, the cover kind of looks like that too. A lot of his 70s stuff is really killer, though. Um, there's another record of his that I'm a big fan of. I think it was on Columbia. It was either on Columbia or Cadet, right? It was kind of a real big protest record. It had like it mentioned Kent State and Vietnam and the Civil Rights Act and all that. But anyway, I don't know anything about this, but I'm a big fan of Ramsey Lewis because of this collection, so I am looking forward to hearing that one eventually. Okay, yeah, I don't know anything about this one. So this is Mel Lewis and the Jazz Orchestra. Naturally, it says Telart Digital, so maybe this is like 80s. Looks like he bought it for $2.99 at some place, and it says slight surface noise. Wonder how slight it is. I guess we'll find out at some point. Yep. Here's another piano player that I've got a bunch of records of in this collection. Is George Shearing. So George Shearing was a English jazz piano player. Just really amazing. He could just play so great, and he had lots of really popular records. So this is, yeah, it's on Capitol. So this guy had a lot of Capitol jazz records, and Capitol tends to be a little more saccharine, right? A little more, your grandparents were buying these records and listening to them. If you're white people that are in your 40s, then your grandparents were probably listening to these records. They were popular. They were pop music, right? And George Shearing, you know, he did some really neat stuff. I think there's another record of his I got where he played a bunch of different tunes, but he all played them in the style of the person that made the track famous, or they were, famous for whatever the tune was. So that just kind of illustrates what his capabilities were, right? So yeah, George Shearing, new look. This looks cool. Okay, so another guy that I've become a big fan of. Not all of his stuff, but a lot of his stuff is really cool. Herbie Mann. Um, this is called Reggae. I have not listened to this one yet. It's a Atlantic, old school Atlantic label, right? Um, so yeah, I don't know much about this one. A lot of the stuff I listened to of his I like. Some of the later stuff, like especially in the disco era, I'm not a huge fan of. But Herbie Mann Reggae. Another guy that kind of fits the same boat. This guy's Maynard Ferguson. If you don't know Maynard Ferguson, you should learn about Maynard Ferguson. He was a crazy trumpet player from, I don't know how far back he went. I don't know if he was in the 40s or not, but I know he played with some of the old school big bands at one point. I don't think it was that. I'm not sure if he was back in the 40s or not, but he had his own big band and was like super commercially successful for years. This one's called Conquistador. It's Columbia, 70s Columbia label, right? So I have not heard this one yet. These can be his stuff can be a little hit or miss for me. Just depends on how kind of schlocky it is, right? Like he's a big playing the highest note on the trumpet blast kind of guy, which kind of gets on my nerves a little bit sometimes. But a lot of his stuff is really cool, especially the older stuff. Like his 50s and early 60s stuff is really nice. But this is kind of the mainstay of this collection is stuff like that. Here's another one by Maynard. It looks like he bought it at the same place. It's $2.79 guarantee. I don't know what guarantee meant, but I guess you could bring it back. So this one's Maynard Ferguson Hollywood. This is again looking like 70s, maybe even early 80s. Columbia here. No clue on that one. And yet again, this is the best of Maynard Ferguson. You see he's much older in this picture, so this is another Columbia. He did a lot of stuff in Columbia, but this one will be interesting to check out. Like I said, I like a lot of his early 60s stuff. Later stuff, not as much, but we'll see. Hopefully there's not a ton of more Maynard in this box. Okay, so this one's kind of neat looking. So this is an evening with the George Shearing Quintet. And this one looks like it's pretty much, it's older, right? Cool old MGM label on this one. Let me see if I can find a date on here. I'm guessing this one is 50s though, maybe early 60s, just by the way the jacket looks, the way the record feels, and the art. Pretty cool cover art here. Yeah, I'm not sure. I do have about 10 MGM records. It's kind of interesting. MGM I always thought was more of a, obviously they were more of a movie company, but I guess they did some music production too. Okay, this one is actually really good. It's Brazil, Brazil, Brazil by Bud Shank and some other guys. Chet Baker plays on this. They're featuring Lorindo Almeida, Chet Baker, Joe Pass, Claire Fisher, and Joa Donato. I'm terrible at pronouncing Brazilian names, so that is absolutely not correct, but I just know Donato. So this is a promo on World Pacific. The music's great. Problem with this one is I know for a fact this is the one I know of that has a skip on it on the first track on side one. So I'm looking to upgrade this one, but obviously it's in Brazil. So probably 62, 63 when the Brazilian jazz was the thing. So pretty neat. I was a little disappointed it had that skip on it, but it's kind of the way it goes. Let me not go through all these. There's a lot of records here. Okay, this one I listened to it and I hate it. So this is Maynard Ferguson, Chameleon. It's a little bit later, probably 70s, obviously. Super cheesy cover there, and I can't say I hate it. I think this is one of the ones I listened to that I didn't like very much. All right, next I'm gonna do these together. We got a couple of Nancy Wilson, so she's another singer, female singer, right? I've got a bunch of her records. There's the two of them right here. They're both on Capitol. So it's going to be jazzy, but it's also going to be super poppy, right? Like, um, probably really nice to listen to, like Sunday afternoon, just chilling out or whatever. Um, yeah, I haven't listened to a bunch of her stuff yet. I've got, I think, 4 or 5 records with her on it, but so I'm not super familiar with her yet. Oh, here's one. Okay, so I have no clue what this one is either, but Super Sax and LA Voices. I'm guessing this is 80s. This looks 80s to me. Maybe late 70s. I think I've got volumes 1 through 3 floating around here somewhere in these boxes that I have left. Have not listened to it at all, so that'll be an interesting one to check out at some point. Okay, this one I almost trashed. So this is Stan Getchier's outstanding memorable performances on 2 LPs. So this is by Roost. You can see the old Roost label there. Um, these 2 records were in one box. I think one of the records was in one box, like with no sleeve on it, and the other one was in the same situation. And then I just had the front cover here. I think this was a box, like a little bit more than just an LP sleeve at one point, but I ended up. These were one of the last ones I actually cleaned up. Cleaned these up, and I've actually listened to this one, and it sounds actually really good. It is a little scratched up, but it's old. It's an older, tough pressing, and sometimes they'll just amaze you, especially the Columbias. I got some Columbias that look like they got drugged down a road behind a pickup truck, and they sound great. So that one's kind of cool. Just another kind of budget label. He had a bunch of this stuff, especially old Charlie Parker stuff, and it's Everest Records Archive of Folk and Jazz Music, and this one is Dizzy Gillespie, the King of Bop, featuring Charlie Parker, Miles Davis, John Lewis, and Max Roach. Sounds amazing, right? So I was talking to Dan the other day, Jazz Shepherd, and he had talked about Everest and how awesome they were, and I was asking him about these and what he thought. He said they're good. My experience with them has been that the music's usually pretty killer, but the quality's not great. And I mean, it has archive in the name, so I guess that's to be expected. But this is not the normal cover that you see for these. Usually, it'll have like a painting of the artist, and then like a column with like the words or whatever who it is. Like there's Charlie Parker Volume 1 through 4, I think. A lot of this stuff's probably radio broadcast, quality, or tapes they found that somebody had in their basement, or just stuff they could license cheaply, maybe old '78 stuff. But these kind of records give me appreciation for bebop and for the swing, the Benny Goodman stuff back in the '30s, all those big bands. So this guy had quite a bit of that, and I've learned a lot from those records. I mean, I love Benny Goodman. Like, that guy's bands were legit, and he was also the first guy that ever integrated a big band and stood up for his black players. So it's pretty amazing. Next, I got this one, Buddy Greco or something else. I have no clue what this is. Not even sure if it's jazz. Kind of a cool 60s looking cover, but yeah, no clue. Okay, so this one's kind of neat. So this one's weird. So this is Errol. It's called Jazz Piano, starring Errol Garner and Pete Johnson. Check out that cover with the modern art there. So this label is called Grand Award, which seems kind of cheesy, right? It's so special. Grand Award, world's greatest music, world's greatest art. So apparently, I didn't find much about these. Nice tip on old jacket. It's in great shape. But apparently these came with like an art print and the record, and they were kind of like supposed to thematically go together. Mine, unfortunately, does not have the art print in it. I'm not quite sure if they came with them or you could order them or what, but this one is cool because it's one of my first Errol Garner records. I've listened to this one all the way through. I just haven't followed it yet. It's pretty neat. I don't know if these were in like grocery stores or some department stores or what. This one I actually like a lot, and it's an Atlantic 1400 series. This is Herbie Mann and the Bill Evans Trio. So Herbie Mann's a flute player. I know I didn't mention that earlier. And I talk some smack about some of his later stuff. Some of it's amazing. I think I just lost the video. Technical difficulties. Oh, it's still recording. Sorry, my screen went blank. So I was talking more about Maynard's later stuff. It wasn't that great. Some of Herbie Mann's stuff is amazing. The more I think about, I've got to kind of remember who certain artists are. Sometimes there's so many people to listen to, but Herbie Mann. I've listened to it's Bill Evans Trio. Herbie Mann. What's not to like, right? But I'm rambling. Cool Red Plum label. Herbie Mann's got some really great stuff too. I mean, I'll tell you. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I think it's right here. Yeah. If I've talked about this record before, I apologize, but this one I actually bought this after listening to a bunch of the Herbie Mann stuff is in the collection. This one is Herbie Mann. Hold On, I'm Coming. It's recorded at live at the 72 New York and Montreux Jazz Festivals. This is a smoking record. It's so great. So, again, I bought this one at a record store after I listened to a bunch of other Herbie Mann stuff. And, developed appreciation for him. So, it's pretty cool. Alright, what's next? Oh, this one's awesome. So, I have not listened to this yet. But, this one's a Verve twofer. It's The Genius of Bud Powell. This is from 49 to 51, solo and trio sessions. So if you saw our twofer video, you'll know how big a fan I am of twofers. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. So I became a big fan of Bud Powell when the Classic series recently came out. It was one of his old 1500 series records. He had 3 or 4 different volumes. And I've listened to all of them since I can't wait to get the rest of them. But yeah, Bud Powell's a genius. I've heard people say, and I'm not a jazz historian by any means, but I've heard people say that he was the guy that basically was responsible for bebop piano, like Charlie Parker was for the alto sax. So if that's not accurate, I heard it and it made sense to me. So don't yell at me in the comments, or do if you want to. It's fine either way. Just comment. Here's a cool one. So this is a 70s, White Bee reissue of Silver Serenade, the Horace Silver Quintet. Great record. I've definitely listened to this one, I think 2 or 3 times. Just haven't put it away yet, so I need to do that. But yeah, great, Horace. I already apologize for how long this video is going to be, because I like showing off records, and if you like watching long videos about just random jazz records, you've come to the right place. So here's another Bud Powell record. And this is it was called the Quintessence Jazz Series. I'm not familiar with this one. I can't remember. I think this might be another Pickwick sub-label. Let me look. Yeah, it is. I had another one of these that sounded pretty good, so, I don't know. We'll see. I talked a little smack about Pickwick earlier. All the records do sound like crap. I mean, they were kind of the K-Tel. They were kind of like K-Tel. They didn't quite do what K-Tel did, which was, take lots of popular songs, cut them in half, and shove 40 of them onto a record. But They were a budget label, and I'm guessing this is the same way. All right, this is a great one. So this is a Prestige Will Be Together Again, Gene Ammons and Sonny Stitt, right? Big fan of Gene Ammons. Becoming a fan of Sonny Stitt. His work, you know, is all over the place. I've got a couple of records of his that I picked up that I wasn't a fan of. They were super kind of schlocky late in his career, and some other stuff I really liked. But yep, this looks like a '70s reissue of this record. So, and it made, you know, it could have been named something else. You never know with Prestige, but that's a pretty cool one. So this is another samba record, probably 62, 63. Trombone, Jazz, Samba, Verve. I think it's a pretty famous record. Bob Brookmeyer, Bossa Nova. What else is on this one? I have just sampled this one. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, which I'm probably going to correct after this video is over. Now that I'm looking at the line, you got Bob Brookmeyer on trombone and piano, Jim Hall on guitar, Jim Rainey on guitar, Gary McFarland on vibes, Willie Bobo on Latin drums, Carmen Costa playing the cabasa, and Jose Paulo on tambourine. Tambourina. That's a made-up word. So yeah, that looks kind of cool. Really interesting cover art too. So I think I'm going to put this one aside and listen to that pretty soon since I have it. And it looks like it's in really good shape too. There was quite a bit of Verve in the collection, which is not shocking because they may have put out more jazz records than any label in history. I'm not sure, but I've got a ton of them. Here's another one right here. This one's great. It's Like Someone in Love. Ella Fitzgerald. So, you know, nice 4000 series Verve. Here's another Ella. This is Hello Love, Ella Fitzgerald, orchestra conducted by Frank Duvall. So the other one had the same orchestra. There's going to be strings on these, but I mean it's Ella. Come on. And this one is Living Sound Fidelity, Hi-Fi Living Sound Fidelity. Huh, that's weird. Wonder what. It's another 4000 series. Okay, cool. Cool cover on that one. A lot of his Verves were in really good shape, so maybe his kids didn't like them. I don't know. This one, I have no clue. This is Miles Davis, My Old Flame. It's on a label called Up Front. I mean, it looks like it's like 70s, probably kind of wild. That actually looks kind of cool. Maybe a little Electric Miles there. I don't know. We'll see. So I've got a copy or two of this record already. It's amazing, Ellington Indigos. So I think Jazz in Orbit, I believe was the name of the record, is my favorite Ellington record. This is definitely up there too, though. I mean, Indigos obviously is talking about the blues, and it's just beautiful. I mean, Duke Ellington's the coolest guy that ever lived. He was the just one of the bedrock foundations of jazz. I mean, I got a bunch of Ellington records, and I can't ever have too many. I know people don't really listen to him as much probably now as they used to, but you know, if you're getting into jazz and you know you've listened to Miles Davis Kind of Blue, if you're just getting into jazz, you're probably not watching this video, but whatever. If you are, you're getting into Kind of Blue, you're getting into the Blue Note Bop stuff. Go back, man, and go back and you know go into the Ellington stuff. His Columbia's stuff's great. Columbia's a great jazz label. They had hundreds of jazz records mixed in with all their other stuff. But and this is a 6i, this is a 2i. It's probably a reissue, but the ones that look like this and the 6i's, they all sound great. And if they're cheap and they interest you at all, pick them up. You're trying to fall all over me, so let's see what we got next. Okay, up next, Broadway. Red Rodney and Kai Winding, Jerry Mulligan and Brew Moore. Oh, cool. Heard of Brew Moore. I don't know who he is. So this one confused me. It's on Status. Which was like, what the hell Status? But then I look at the record and it's a Prestige label. Right? So I know that Prestige kind of turned into Status or something like that. I'm not super familiar with the history there, but I did figure out that this is the sleeve this record probably came in. Not super familiar with Red Rodney. I know who Kai Winding is, Jerry Mulligan. I've heard of Brew Moore. I don't know anything about him, but I'm interested. This is... Okay, so there's two groups. Okay, so let's check that out. There's two groups here. So the first group, which is Group A, is Kai Winding, Jerry Mulligan, Brew Moore, George Wellington on piano. So Brew Moore's a tenor saxophonist, excuse me. If you don't know who Kai Winding and Jerry Mulligan are, you will. So George Wellington on piano, Curly Russell on bass. Curly Russell's great. He played with Art Blakey for a while, and the Messengers, and Roy Haynes on drums. Roy Haynes played on a million jazz records. It's amazing. The other one is Red Rodney, Jimmy Ford. Red Rodney's on trumpet, Jimmy Ford on alto sax. The next guy, I think it's Phil Raphael on piano. Don't know him. Phil Leshine on bass, and Phil Brown on drums. So we got the Phils. The unheard, the unknown by me, Phil, rhythm section on that one. So that's kind of cool. What do we got next? Okay, this one's kind of neat. Okay, so this is the jazz combo from I Want to Live. I don't know if it's a movie. Yeah, it's a movie starring Susan Hayward. Okay, so it's like a soundtrack. So we got, oh wait, wow, this looks kind of amazing. So we got Jerry Mulligan, Shelly Manne, Art Farmer, composed and arranged by Johnny Mandel. Okay, so, some of these records I haven't seen since I bought this collection, and there's a lot of people I didn't know much about them. And these three guys are just like legends. Art Farmer, I love Art Farmer. Shelly Manne's an amazing drummer. Jerry Mulligan, I love his tone on his baritone. So, yeah, I'm going to have to listen to that one pretty soon. It is on United Artists. That one's going into the to listen to soon pile there, along with the trombone jazz samba record. Okay, this group, I've got several of these records, so I don't know where it's at. Okay, I've been listening to the crap out of Weather Report lately. Love that stuff. This is the Manhattan Transfer. Was a band that was not related to them, but around the same area in the '70s, and they're a jazz vocal group. So haven't listened to their stuff yet. Looking forward to it. This is on Atlantic, so the Manhattan Transfer, and I think this is called Extensions. McCoy Tyner's extension record is amazing. Maybe this one will be. Or maybe not. You never know. Okay, yeah, this one's cool. So this is another Columbia. It's Mose Allison. So it's I Love the Life I Live, the voice and piano of Mose Allison. Cool cover. He's sitting at the bus stop apparently. Old Columbia 6i. No, I'm looking forward to this one. I've come to appreciate Mose Allison. I think I sampled this one and it might be kind of stretched to hell. I hope not. Let's see. I mean, it's scuffed up, but it looks like it's going to play pretty nice. That's exciting. So Mose Allison, for those who don't know, was originally a piano player, and was on a bunch of records, and he was a singer too, and that's what he really got really popular for. So, cool story. The lady I bought this from and her dad, they listened to Mose Allison all the time when she was growing up, and she was super connected to these records. So that's kind of neat to have that history in my collection. All right, here we go. Pablo, today, Sony Systems digital recording. Yay, it's digital. How perfect, from the 80s. On the Road with Count Basie and the orchestra. I don't care if it's digital. I'm going to totally check this out. All the Pablos I've had so far sound great. I'm not sure about these digital ones or these purple. Looks blue in the camera. Purple, kind of surrounding label records. So we'll see. All the regular Pablos I have, though, are just ridiculously good. All right, here we go. Let's speed it up. Wynton Marsalis. So, Think of One. This is a great record. I've definitely listened to this one. Another Columbia. I got a ton of Columbias because this guy had so many Columbias in his collection. But Wynton, love him or hate him, he's a genius and once in a generation talent on the trumpet. So, cool one there. Put some of these back in this box before they fall everywhere. The next one I'm super excited about. I have not listened to it yet. But I've listened to a bunch of other records. So the guy did have quite a few Argos in his collection. This is a portfolio of Ahmad Jamal. I'm guessing this is a collection of Ahmad Jamal stuff. Big fan of Ahmad Jamal. This looks like it's a 2 LP. Yeah, 2 LPs. Really cool. Got like this embossed copper fold-looking silhouette there. That's pretty cool. It's mono, obviously, as you can see in the top right corner. Argos sound great. This one's got an interesting like red label, which I'm not familiar with. So, yeah, deep groove though. It'll be interesting. I'm not that familiar with this one, but love Argo as a label. So this is a lady that I'm not really familiar with at all. Marianne McPartland. I've got a couple of her records. I haven't dug into them yet. I'm guessing it's obviously jazz vocal. I think I could be wrong. Maybe she's playing piano here. Is she a piano player? I probably sound like an idiot to people who know she is. Yeah, I don't know. I'm guessing she does play piano because there's no piano in the band here. Just bass, drums, conga drum, and tambourines. I don't know. I'll have to claim ignorance on this one, but it looks like she's sitting at a piano to me. So, you decide. It's on the Bainbridge label. The Times. Have you ever heard of that? It's a little bit of first for that label. What we got next? Get through this stuff, yo. All right. So Carmen McRae. I've got about 10 of her records, and she's great. She was amazing. There's an Atlantic one that's Atlantic Live record that's Figures Corner reissued, I believe. It's just fantastic. So we got Carmen McRae for Once in My Life on Atlantic, and then another one on Atlantic, which is Carmen McRae. Oh, that's what I said already. Oh, Something Wonderful by Carmen McRae on Columbia. So she had a real bluesy, voice and just a funky, jazzy, bluesy thing going on, especially in the 70s, which was right up my alley. Okay, here's a record that I do not like. Here's two records I don't like. Okay, cool. So I was talking about how great Herbie Mann was. Not a fan of these two. Okay, we got Herbie Mann Superman and then Herbie Mann Discotheque. I'm going to give these another shot at some point because I've only kind of sampled them. But from what I did listen to, they were not great, in my opinion. Alright, what's next? Oh, this is a cool one. Okay. I have listened to this one. So this is Harold Better's Takes Off. How awesome is that cover, right? Total mid-century. It's on Gateway. So Gateway is a cool label. I've got 3 Gateways, and they're all Harold Betters. You can see he's like a flugelhorn player or cornet. And yeah, his records are great. So I'm just looking here. It doesn't really. It has a lineup. It didn't tell me what they play. We got Harold Betters, Al O'Brien, John Hughes, and Russ Llewellyn. I haven't heard of those other guys, but Gateway was out of Pittsburgh. So, but yeah, his records are great. If you see them, pick them up. I mean, and this cover is just really cool. What's that, 50s, maybe early 60s fighter jet there? Probably 60s, right? What do we got here? Okay. So this is an old Impulse, Dave McKay and Vicki Hamilton. Kind of on that, middle time Impulse label there with ABC. No clue. Haven't heard it. Don't know anything about it. It doesn't have the cool spine, so that's a bummer. Alright, what's next? Oh yeah, this one's kind of neat. So this is Jimmy Lyons plays Cole Porter, Steinway, and his music. So I did look this one up, and this is on Finidar. I don't know anything about that label, which is part of, I guess, Fantasy, it looks like. It's got Fantasy in the bottom. Let me check that out. Yeah, I don't know. Hey, dog. My dog decided to enter the picture, which is cool. So here's a picture of Jimmy Lyon, right? And I've listened to this record, I don't really remember it that much. I just know it's neat because he was playing Cole Porter songs on Cole Porter's actual Steinway piano they own. So obviously a big part of history there. And I don't think this is Fantasy. I think that is some weird name. It's Finiday. Okay, yeah. Never heard of it. Interesting. I have listened to it. Okay, here's another Manhattan Transfer. This is their OG, I think. 1975. Just they're self-titled, so I'm thinking that they're a jazz quartet singers, right? 2 guys, 2 ladies. They went through a couple different versions. I'm looking forward to kind of digging into them next. Here we got the Mancini Touch, right? So if you got to have Mancini records in your collection, right? This is an old RCA living stereo, so it swings softly up here. So that sounds like a good thing to do, is to swing softly to sleep. This is Herbie Mann, The Evolution of Man. I'm not sure if this is the greatest hits or what. It's 2 records, so I don't remember, but I have sampled this one, and I like this one. This one's pretty cool. Not disco, not Superman. So, yeah. All right, here we go. What do we got up next? So this is Savoy Jazz. Oh, cool. The Savoy reissue from the 70s. Blues, Candy, and Big Mabel. So, we talked about these reissues in our 2 for video. This is not a 2 for, but It's from the same era. I listened to this, and it's super cool. She had a great big voice, real bluesy, obviously, and Candy. Here's another Herbie Mann record. Fairly early-ish Atlantic, not early-ish, but 1400 series. So our man flute, Herbie Mann, he's shooting a deer or something there. Maybe he's snapping a general or something for the opposing army. I don't know. Kind of a weird cover. But yeah, I'm not sure how great this one is. It's probably pretty good. It doesn't seem super schlocky like those other two that I'm not a fan of at all. Oh, this is a cool one. I already have two copies of this. This is the second one. Jazz Samba, Stan Getz, and Charlie Bird. Another big Samba record from probably 62, 63, right? This is classic. It's really good. Not as good as one that's coming up, but it's still good. Here is the Blue Note Reissue Series kind of psychedelic cover 2 for that I was saying I had Harry Hancock. So Felipe had a couple of these. This one, I don't want to waste much time here. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. I'm not sure what records this is a part of. I probably already have them, but if it's Herbie Hancock on Blue Note, I got a lot of them, so we'll see what that is. But these sound pretty good. Let me send them to for video. Yeah, we got 3 left, guys. Thank you for bearing with me. I have no idea how to do this long. It's probably twice as long as it needs to be. So, Getz Goberto. If you're new to jazz, you should buy this. Great samba record. It's like the samba record, I would say. You know, it's got Girl from Ipanema on it, which was a massive hit. Yeah. This one looks a little different than the other one I have. I think on the back cover, maybe not. I've got the Acoustic Sounds 45 version of this, which is one of the best sounding records I have. I'm excited for this one. I need to check. I don't remember what kind of condition it's in. Hopefully it's in good condition, and I'll have a nice, 33 RPM listener copy of this record. Great one. All right, I got 2 more. Nope, I lied. 3 more. Sorry. Okay. Shelly Manne, Daktari, performs and conducts his original music for the hit TV show. Okay, Shelly Manne does those things for Daktari. If you remember Daktari, it was pretty cool 70s, I think maybe 60s. I guess 60s probably. Show had animals in it and stuff. So yeah, Shelly Manne's a great drummer. Cool record. Nice label. So this is kind of a part 2. This is on contemporary. It's Shelly Manne and his men, Son of Gun. So they're playing more music from Peter Gunn. A nice mono contemporary label there. All right, last but not least, we got Dizzy Goes to Hollywood. So this is Dizzy, his treatment of Hollywood's most powerful film themes. I've not listened to this one's on Philips, which is probably, it could be printed, it could have been printed in America, but a lot of the Philips stuff is from Europe. I'll check it out. It's got a deep groove on it. It's kind of neat. So that's it. So, what's the point of this video, right? Besides showing you a bunch of boring jazz records that you may or may not like. If you get the chance to buy a jazz collection for cheap, you should do it. If you're willing to put in the work and get the rewards out of it. You also might find something that's got a bunch of stuff that's worth money that you can sell and use to further your collection. That did not happen in my case. I got a really good price on the records. I think I paid about $1.50 a piece for them, and I'd say the average price for them is probably about $4 or $5. So, I did fine. The coolest part again to me is the expansion of my knowledge of jazz and just being able to go through this guy's collection and know that parts of it are going to live on in mine for hopefully a long time. And then somebody else will get. Hopefully my kids won't get ripped off and they'll sell my records eventually, and other people will be able to enjoy them and think about who I was or who these guys' names are on these records were. If you made it through all this, I really appreciate it. It's been a fun video to record. I'll make more. I've got other boxes full of stuff that we can make more of if you're interested. Please like and subscribe. And we really appreciate everyone that's watched our videos, and we've had a really good time making them so far. So we'll see you soon. Thank you.